Hey everybody, back here again, and this time we're going to review season 3 and 4 of the Creepshow Shudder series. Now, before I get started, I'm just going to do a disclaimer real quick and say that I noticed as the series went on, the budget for the show dropped pretty heavily. So in season 1 and 2, they had these segments at the beginning with the creep where you would see like the creep doing different things, kind of like the Crypt Keeper, but he never really talked. And in season 3 and 4, you can really see the budget fall, especially in season 4, where they this was kind of like after COVID, and you could really see that Shudder was bringing the show down budget wise because they got rid of a lot of the segments involving the creep, and most of you just popped right into this segment, right? You didn't even really get that much of an intro. You got the comic book flipping through and stuff like that, but you didn't really get like a creep intro. And with that, unfortunately, comes a lot more, bad and satisfactory episodes. I think definitely the budget going down affected the quality of the show, obviously, which is it's a shame because the first two seasons, if you go back and watch my season 1 and 2 rankings, those went really well. I really enjoyed those, and I mean when you see the tier list I bring up again. Um, yeah, I thought season 1 and 2 were a real big success, and I did enjoy some parts of season 3 and 4. I wouldn't say they're all bad. They're definitely the weaker two seasons of the four, but I will say there's actually some really good ones in here, and one of them might actually be my favorite of the entire show. So we're going to get into it right now. We're going to pop over to the tier list. Ta-da! The tier list of Creepshow. And we're going to get right into it with season 3. And the first segment, this is Mums. Now, back in season 2, we covered sibling rivalry. And I said that was Rusty Cundiff of Tales from the Hood fame. Well, he returns again with this episode. And I will say it's a much better performance than he turned in with sibling rivalry as far as directing goes. So this one involves this kid who he lives with this abusive father, and this father is like one of those like crazy political people that you know is just not a great person in general, and he is really abusive towards both his wife and the son. And one day the wife tries to take the son to the grandmother's house to get away from the abusive asshole father. And when he finds out about it, he ends up saying that she's crazy and she has to go away, and he ends up killing her, and he buries her in the backyard. She has like this garden, and he buries her near there, and her body kind of becomes one with the garden, and it's a really interesting. There's like some really interesting special effects in this, and I really like the ending to this one. I mean, this is classic, Tales from the Crypt, bad people getting what they deserve kind of thing. And I really enjoyed what this one offered. It definitely is the better of the two Rusty Cundiff directed episodes of this show. And what I really find great about this episode is if you're familiar with Vegas Vacation, the abusive father in this episode is actually Rusty Griswold in Vegas Vacation, which I thought was really interesting and fun and kind of off the cuff for something you would expect him to do. But it was enjoyable. I wouldn't say it was amazing. Like there were some things about it that were a little. I wish there was a little more gore effects to it, let's just say, and a little more like horrific stuff that goes on. But I mean, it's a really emotional episode. You feel bad for this kid. I'm gonna put this in the B tier, and I think I enjoyed it. I'm gonna put it like right here. Yeah, Moms was a good episode. Um, Decent way to kick off season 3, and that's where you need it because this next one, oh boy, this is Queen Bee, and this one's weird. So you got like these kids and this pop star. I can't remember her name, but her name's escaping me right now. And they're like really obsessed with her, and like they're arguing about who's the biggest fan, and they find out that she's like in labor in the hospital because she's going to give birth. And you that's wild. You find out something about her that's absolutely wild, and the special effects are kind of neat, but at the same time, like they have this. All the hospital staff have like this green tint in their eyes, and that special effect is awful, and I thought it was terrible. And the characters in this, I mean, they're supposed to be annoying, I guess, because they're like bratty teenagers, but really off-putting episode. I did not like this one very much. Uh, yeah, just really annoying characters all around, and I mean, you get a cool special effect, I guess, with like what she turns into, but overall, I mean, this one's just. I think this is pretty poor. This is probably going in the crap show, and I did like this more than Survivor type, I think. So it's gonna slot in there, but not exactly something that I would go back and watch again. I just found the characters to be really, really annoying, and yeah. But I mean, the special effects do save it a bit, so it's not completely like creep shit. But yeah, it's. I could see people thinking it's bottom tier. This feels more like Are You Afraid of the Dark than anything, but yeah, that's where it's going to go, a D tier. Then we move on to Skeletons in the Closet. And here's what I'm going to say about Skeletons in the Closet. Do you like horror movies? Well, I sure hope you do because you're watching a horror-themed TV show after all. But do you really like horror movies? Because let me tell you, this episode, oh boy, it's a if you're a horror fan, you're gonna love this episode. Let me tell you, it's a ode to everything horror. You love horror, you're gonna love this. Perfect. You're gonna love everything in this. No, um, this show, and you know what? Like George Romero's great. Like I love George Romero, and obviously, we're all horror fans if we're watching this show. This episode is obnoxious with how much it just throws the, oh, you love horror, you're gonna love this, oh my god, look at these. It's just like a blowjob to everything horror, and it's just like, ugh. It's just terrible. Like I don't like the actors in this. The two there's like a couple that runs this shop, and it's all like all this horror memorabilia. And then there's a guy who comes in that is like a rival, and he's played by James Remar, which is the only saving grace of this episode is James Remar's in this. And this they have this store where you have all these movie props and they're so proud of it, and then this weird shit starts happening where like all the props come to life, and like it's just it basically like blowing off every horror movie director that ever existed, and it's just really weird. I don't like this one at all. I'm gonna put it in creep shit to be honest, but it's not as bad as Thriller Ring of the Circus from the Circus of the Dead. I did not like Skeletons in the Closet. James Remar wasn't enough to save this. There are some decent like stop motion effects, but it's really cheesy and doesn't really fit into what like the episode's going for. I don't know. This one's not for me. It might be for you, but I just thought it was really obnoxious with what it was doing. Then we move on to Familiar. And this one's a lot better than Skeletons in the Closet. I like this one quite a bit. So this involves a guy and his girlfriend, and they're out on the town one day, and they come across this like seer, kind of like a fortune teller, kind of like future reader kind of person, and they go in and they're having a good time. But then the seer kind of slips the guy a note that says something else came in here with you. And you find out like that there's this creature that's like a kind of like a I don't want to say like a doppelganger, but it's kind of like a shadow creature that's following this guy around. And basically he's told he has to catch it if he wants to get rid of it. And it's very creepy in some points. Where it fails though, it's just a really weird way that he ends up catching the thing. I don't really think that was thought out well, and the ending is really like messed up. But the way it gets there is a little off-putting, little weird. Overall, I thought this was pretty decent. I enjoyed this one a fair amount. So I'm gonna put this into scary good times. Uh, I did like it better than Mums, so I'm gonna put it there. Yeah, Familiar is a good one. Very creepy atmosphere, I will say that. Um, I wish the acting was a slight bit better, but it's not enough to make me. It's not enough like Queen Bee, where I'm just like disturbed by how bad it is sometimes. The only thing to save Queen Bee was the effects, but yeah. Then we move on to the last Surabaya, or last Subaraya. Sorry, sometimes I mispronounce that one. So this one I really like a lot. If you're really into like Japanese kind of mythology, this deals a lot with like Japanese demons, and so the episode has like this. It's the last Subaraya, and he was this painter, and he painted all these like really grotesque kind of like demon portraits, and there's this one that nobody's ever seen before. It's the last one he painted before he passed away. It disappeared mysteriously. Sorry, no one really knows what happened to him. And so this real dickhead collector comes in, and he wants to buy it out of this museum. This museum's bidding for it. This museum really wants it, and he comes in and he gives a better offer, like a way better offer that the guy couldn't refuse. And so he takes the painting and he does like a big reveal at his house, and he ends up just burning the damn thing. So he buys it and burns it just to say that he was the only one to see it. Just a real scumbag piece of shit, like we're used to seeing in this show now. And he basically gets haunted by the painting. And the ending is I think the ending is very satisfying to this one. This one has a very good creepy atmosphere to it. The monster, I think the monster's pretty good. A lot of people I've seen don't really like the monster in this episode, but I think it's pretty well done, and I like it a lot. This one reminds me a lot of Easel Killia from Tales from the Crypt, except the guy's not like murdering people; he's just being haunted by like this. But I mean, it has like the same thing with a painter and all that. And this was really well done. I really like this one. This one's going in S tier, probably right here because I like these four better. But yeah, really enjoyable episode. This is going in the most fun you'll ever have being scared. Next up, we have Okay, I'll Bite. This is another strange one. I'm not really sure how to feel about it. There's this guy in this prison, and he's treated really poorly by the other prisoners and by the guards. And he has like these pet spiders that live in his cell with him. And he talks to them, and he says that like they're his friends and all that. And one of the prisoners ends up killing like one of the spiders, and he gets really upset about that. And later on, like he does some weird kind of ritual, like I assume this is some sort of like spider goddess or whatever that he like prays to, that basically gets revenge for him, and it's a very weird out there episode. They don't really explain a lot, just that this guy likes spiders and there's some weird stuff going on with him. Yeah, this one was okay. There are some interesting effects, I will say, when it comes to like. Um, there's some really gruesome effects at the end that I really enjoyed that I didn't see coming. Um, in general, though, this one's just all right. This is gonna go in satisfactory, and probably like. I mean, I liked it better than these ones. I think right here is probably good. Yeah, this one's okay. Okay, I'll bite is okay. If you like spiders, you definitely won't like this episode because they're everywhere. They always show them. Then we move on to Stranger Things, and guys, I'm just gonna be honest. This episode's going. It's going right here. I did not. This one's really goddamn stupid. I'm sorry. Um, How do I even explain this? There's this guy who is at a coffee shop minding his own business, and this woman comes up to him and he's really into her. They hit it off. He goes back to her place, and he finds out that like she has a siren living with her, like from like Greek mythology, and the siren is like she wants to become a human, and the human woman wants to become a siren, and so they want this guy to like replace their vocal cords, and you find out the guy is like a lady doctor, we'll just put it that way, and like it's so stupid. He has to remove their vocal cords and change them up, and then it's bad. Okay, like I don't. That's the gist of it. But this episode's stupid. It's annoying. It makes no fucking sense whatsoever. I don't like any of the actors that played this. I thought they were all obnoxious. Like I guess like the siren when she changes is cool. That's like the only slightly saving grace to this thing. But other than that, this is like really crap, and like this is bottom of the barrel kind of shit that is what I was saying. Like season 3 and 4 kind of took like a really big downturn in quality. This is what I'm talking about when it comes with Skeletons in the Closet and Stranger Things. These were just not great. Like this show could definitely do better, and they showed it in the prior 2 seasons. But yeah, not one I ever need to watch again. Something that I found really annoying and unnecessary. But we move on to Meter Reader, and this one, I'm going to tell you, this one really surprised me. I did not expect to like this one as much as I did. This is like kind of think of like an apocalyptic theme meets like kind of like The Exorcist, where you have like these demons that are like overtaking people and like turning them into like these monsters. And because it's so bad, it's all over the world now. And there's like this quarantine, and you have these people called meter readers that go out into the world to like kill these people. The only way to kill them is like cut their head off and then throw their head away. And there's this guy who has been doing it a long time, and he has a family that he lives. He has his family, and the family is like they live out in the you know backwoods country area, kind of like away from all this. And he's basically told them like when he comes home, not to let him in under certain circumstances. And then he does come home, and they're kind of paranoid about letting him in because they're worried that he may have caught the this demon virus or whatever it is. And it's a very gut wrenching episode. Like there's some stuff that happens to the family in this episode that is really sad. Um, it's really well done, and like I really enjoy this theme, like this post-apocalyptic, this kind of like new spin on the post-apocalyptic theme. And I was like really pleasantly surprised by it. This is an S tier episode, uh, and I'm actually gonna put it like I think it's top 3 for me. I really enjoyed this. It's got everything. It's got great gore effects. It's got a great story. So yeah, check out Meter Reader. I think that this one, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by this one. Like I said, season 3 and 4 did have some hits, and this is one of them for sure. Really good episode. Then we move into Time Out. Now I want to preface this by saying this episode feels the most un-Creepshow of the entire show. However, that is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, I've seen a lot of people like crap on this one because it's so un-Creepshow and it's so unhorrific and it's so nothing like you would expect from, a horror anthology show. This is way more feels like a Tales from the Dark Side, or even Twilight Zone kind of episode. But it's so well done, and the messages behind it I think are amazing. So to sum it up, there's this guy who's in university, and he's trying to be a lawyer, and he's really struggling with the bar exam and all of that stuff, and just trying to live a normal life. And he eventually does meet this girl. He has a friend that he hangs out with, and he meets this girl that he really likes, and he gets this kind of like a cabinet from his grandmother that belonged to his grandfather. And she said, basically she sends a note with it that says like, if you need more time, just step into the closet, closet, and basically you'll have more time. And so he decides to do it on a whim because he's uh, really run behind on his exams. He really wants to like cram for it. So he steps into the cabinet with his work, and he realizes that time slows down. Sorry, time speeds up as he's in it, but the world outside doesn't move at all. So it's like he's getting more time to do stuff when he's inside the closet, but it's actually not affecting outside. So it's really interesting, playing with time manipulation and what that entails maybe for example, aging and how the world views you after you get out of there, because your your time is going rapidly inside the cabinet. You're aging, and outside everything is normal. So when you get out of there, what are the effects on you afterwards? And this episode has a lot of great messages on like time management and not having enough time and affecting your personal life, and it's just fantastic. I think it's amazing, and I could see why people would be kind of weirded out by this one because this is very un-Creepshow. But as someone who loves like Twilight Zone as well, this is fantastic. This is going up in the A tier. um, I'm actually going to put it like way up here. I love Time Out. It's not quite an S because, like I said, it's not doesn't really fit in with Creepshow. But in terms of just a really emotional, thought-provoking episode, you can't do better than this one. This one's really good, and the ending is a real big downer, and it's like it goes somewhere you wouldn't expect, and it's really sad. And then, unfortunately, after that nice run of good episodes, we have potentially one of the worst in the entire series. We have the things in Oakwood's past. So earlier I mentioned that Twittering of the Circus of the Dead and Survivor Type were part of an animated special. Well, in season 3, out of fucking nowhere, to give us another animated episode. And if you thought the animation was bad in these two pieces of shit right here, the animation is god fucking awful in this episode. We're talking like 90s low budget style animation that, quite frankly, is a little insulting. Um, Also, the story, while interesting, makes no fucking sense. Um, Basically, there's like this historian in this town, and she finds out this secret of the town, and there's like this buried deep down secret of the town, and she wants to unlock it, and they have this big thing where they're gonna unlock the secret of Oakwood's past or whatever, and they do, and shit goes to hell, and things get. I will say that this episode's very bloody. Like, being animated, you can do whatever the hell you want, basically. So it's batshit crazy with the violence, but also like the talent they got for this to do the voice acting. Like, you got Danielle Harris as like the main girl. You got Mark fucking Hamill in this as the mayor. Like, Mark Hamill, he's like the guy's the quintessential Joker voice. Luke Skywalker himself. He's a fantastic voice actor. And it's just, he doesn't give a shit in this. You can tell by the way he voices the mayor. He does not give a fuck. He is phoning it in so much that it's completely bad. And this is real. Like, it's not as bad as Twittering. I'm gonna put it above Stranger Things just because like I said, it has some like hardcore violence because, again, it's animated episode. You can do whatever the hell you want, but it's creep shit. It's a piece of trash. I don't understand why they decided to make. And this probably comes into what I was saying about how this show, its budget tanked, because this episode's quality of the animation is so damn bad that it's unacceptable at the end of the day. Yeah, the things in Oakwood's past, not for me. maybe watch it once. Maybe you like it. But it's gonna be. I found it really off-putting, and it belongs in creep shit. So now we move to the last two segments of season 3 before we get into season 4. And this is drug traffic. So this is another weird one where like there's a lot of political jargon in this episode, like a lot of political stuff, which can be off-putting for a lot of people. I didn't really mind it so much, but I can see how some people would be off-put by like the political messages and all that in this. So like there's this border patrol agent who's played by Michael Rooker, and Michael Rooker is very good in this episode, I will say. He's the one saving grace for this. Um, and he's a border patrol agent, and there's this group that comes from Canada, and there's this like, well, they come into Canada from the U.S., and there's like this sleazeball politician who is like on the left side of the spectrum who, he acts like he's a good person, but he's probably not a great person. And Michael Rooker is kind of more or less like on the right-leaning side, and it's just really weird episode. It has a lot like political messaging to it, and there's just like this girl and her mother, and the girl is really sick, and she needs these special drugs that she gets from the U.S., but she can't bring them over the border. And Michael Rooker kind of is like, "Hey, we gotta confiscate these." And so he confiscates the drugs that the lady has for her son. And all hell breaks loose from there. This girl you find out is actually like this Asian creature, and she's like a floating head, which is, kind of interesting. You never really see that kind of monster in these kind of in these kind of shows. So that aspect was fun. Michael Rooker is great, like I said. Very bloody episode. There's a lot of blood in this episode spilt as well. There's a little Easter egg I like with this when Michael Rooker is getting beer from the fridge, and it's Old Chief Woodenhead beer. I thought that was a nice throwback to the Creepshow 2 segment. Overall, though, this is a decent episode. The ending is really stupid. I thought the ending like brought it down a lot, actually. This is going to go in Satisfactory Spooks, and I think it's going to go right about here. I like the pipe screams better. Yeah, I wanted to like this episode a lot more than I did, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, the ending really dragged it down, and the political messaging was kind of a little off-putting. And then we move into the final segment of Season 3, A Dead Girl Named Sue. So I mentioned before about how this show really likes George Romero. And actually in Season 4, you'll really find out how much I like George Romero. But this episode, I want to explain this episode in the best way I can because I think it's so unique what they did. So this essentially takes place the same night as Night of the Living Dead. And it's like a county over, or, something close to that. So already you see where this is going. And it's all in black and white, which is the coolest part to me. Like, they really went above and beyond with, keeping it the same night as Night of the Living Dead. And so the episode plays out where there's these, you get the impression that something really bad happened in this town, besides the fact that, the dead are rising, and they don't quite know it right away. They know something's off, and, the ghouls, if you will, from Night of the Living Dead, or, they hear about them on the radio. Like, they have the radio broadcasts from Night of the Living Dead playing in the episode. And there's this mob that's forming because they want to go after the mayor. I think he's the mayor, actually. He's a very important person in the town, and his son did something really bad, and the mob basically wants justice for it. And so you have like this sheriff or I think it's a sheriff's assistant or something like that, and he is basically telling the mob, like, listen, I'll do my best to find him. It's not safe out here. Justice will be served. Don't worry about this vigilante stuff, right? He's very against it at first. So eventually he finds this guy who has committed this horrible crime against this, and you find out that he's actually murdered this little girl, and there's very strong inclinations that he's done more than just murder her. That's all I'm going to get into. I don't want to get I don't want to get like this video taken down or anything like that. But eventually the cop kind of changes his mind, and he maybe feels like, you know what, maybe vigilante justice is the proper thing here, because this guy's a complete piece of garbage who thinks that he's above the law because his daddy runs the town and he can do whatever he wants, and he quickly learns that that's not the case. And let's just say, because this county is a county over from the Night of the Living Dead county, their brand of revenge might involve Sue herself. This episode is fantastic. I literally gave a round of applause when it was over, and it's an S tier all the way. Depending on the mood I'm in and the day, how I feel the day, these two right here, the Right Snuff and the Dead Girl Named Sue, they could change at any time. They're my number 1 and 2. Depending on my mood, those will be the ones that I go to. I think this episode's fantastic. The whole thing they did with mixing in with the same night as Night of the Living Dead, I thought was phenomenal. And unlike Skeletons in the Closet, which was really obnoxious about its homage, A Dead Girl Named Sue is... It takes the story of Night of the Living Dead and gives you a different perspective on it. And I thought it was amazing. This is, mob mentality and, what's right and wrong when it comes to dealing with somebody who's a bad person. I thought it was fantastic. Definitely recommend this one. Top 2 of the series for me. But now we've arrived at season 4. And this is where you really start noticing that the quality of the series, unfortunately, it was definitely ending. They had seemed to not want to continue with the show anymore. Which I will say, this season is very overall disappointing. Even more so than season 3. I will say right off the bat, it has probably one of the worst episodes of the entire series. Maybe even worse than Twittering from the Circus of the Dead, if I'm being honest. But there are still some good parts, but not nearly as many as the prior seasons. And it's unfortunate because I thought the episodes that were good in this season had potential. And, they were kind of dragged down by the fact that the budget was really... When you watch the Blu-rays, they don't even have creep intros anymore. It literally just goes right into the intro, right into the comic book panels, right into the episode, which I thought was kind of disappointing. It really loses a lot of its charm in season 4. Anyway, we'll get into it. And we're going to start with 20 minutes with Cassandra. And guys, what do I say about this one? This is so bad. This could potentially be a Creepshow 3 segment. If you know how bad that movie is, this is probably just as fucking bad as that. I don't know what they were thinking with this one. This is so stupid. I'm going to try my best to explain this because this is dumb. There's this lady who comes up to the house of another lady who's waiting for, who just got off work, ordered a pizza, is settling down for the day. She knocks on the door and she's like, hey, there's this monster chasing me. You're going to die soon because this monster's after you too. Okay, this is a really good introduction. I'm intrigued. What's going to happen here? Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but Cassandra, the lady who knocked on the door, is annoying as shit. You find out that this monster that is chasing her and wants to kill her and this woman is a fucking giant rat that she killed and felt guilty about it, so it manifested itself as a monster that is now chasing her down. What the fuck? Not only that, you have this really stupid part where like the pizza guy comes to deliver this lady's pizza who lives at the house, and they have this really awkward long segment where the two of them are just going back and forth like, oh, you have this pizza. No, go away. Trust me, you want to go away. But I want you to have this pizza. No, go away. You don't want to be here. But I want you to have this pizza. No, go away. It is just, it goes on way too fucking long. What were they thinking with that part? This episode sucks, okay? And then at the end, you find out, like, this woman has her own secret monster that's a fucking cat. It's trash. Listen, watch this episode if you want. I apologize in advance. I told you so. It's terrible. It makes no sense. It's stupid. It's annoying. It's way too long for what it is. It's 20 minutes with Cassandra too long is what it is. Terrible. Honestly, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it's the worst goddamn episode of the show. It's worse than this twittering bullshit from the dead. Just really offensive, you know, and something that after the successes this show had, and all these great episodes, like from everything from here up to here, even some of the Satisfactory Spooks ones, they had something, even the Crap Show ones had something decent that they had to offer. This has nothing to offer. This is literally the bottom of the barrel trash. I'm sorry, it's crap. I never want to watch it again. I watched it once. I don't need to see it again. However, the second segment following it is actually pretty damn good. So we have Smile. And this one involves like this war photographer, and he's at dinner with his wife, and he just won an award recently for like this picture he took. And the picture he took was like a father and son, and they're sorry, and they're drowning, and he doesn't save them. Instead, he just takes a picture. And there's this like really strange character that's like taking photos of him and his wife, and he gets very paranoid about everything because he knows what happened, but he hasn't really told anyone else like the circumstances of the photo, which is where he didn't save them at all. He just let them die. And this has a really haunting ending, which I was very disturbed by. Actually, I did not think they were going to go there. Overall, I really enjoyed this one. It I wish it offered more. It's going to go in Scary Good Times, and I'm probably going to put it some. I'm actually going to put it like here. Good episode. I just wish it did a bit more. Like I said, I found the ending very disturbing for this one. It reminded me a lot of like. I mean, it had like, I guess it has like Forever Ambergris from Tales from the Crypt kind of similarities, where you have like a war photographer who, you know, was a bad person, but kind of similarities in there. But there's like a real psychological thing going on with like this guy who's filming them, and they're not really sure who this guy is that's filming them, and you know, does he know? Does he not? But very good stuff. Definitely better than the last episode we had. And then we move on to The Hat. This one's a weird one. So this involves this writer, and he's not a very good writer. He has intense writer's block, and he wants to be like this famous writer, Stephen Bachman, which I thought was a very fun name because it's a mix of Stephen King and his pen name, which is Richard Bachman, and they just like slam the two together, and you get Stephen Bachman. And he meets Stephen Bachman's kind of agent, I guess, and she basically infers to him that all of his success came from this hat that he would wear when he was writing, and this hat would kind of give him the ability to write really well. And this guy is like, oh, you know, I want to try it. So she lets him, you know, have the hat, and he puts it on, and he starts writing up a storm. He starts writing really good books, and he starts becoming really popular. And as you would expect, there's something very off about this hat, something supernatural about this hat that might have some consequences. We'll just say that. This was an interesting one. I liked it enough. I'm also going to put this in B tier. Probably towards the lower end. Right there is fine. It was enjoyable. I There was some things about it I thought were a bit awkward. Like I wasn't a huge fan of the main actor in this. I thought he hammed it up a bit too much. And again, this is a hammy episode, but yeah, he was just kind of off-putting. He looked a lot like John Lovitz actually, even though it wasn't John Lovitz. So I got kind of like reminded of Top Billing when I was watching this. But yeah, it's your usual like struggling artist who, gets his hack about how to be better, but it's probably not exactly how you would expect it. You know, there's consequences. Overall, enjoyable. Then we're going to move on to grieving process. And this is a really, really screwed up episode. In a good way, actually. So you got this couple that's, very happy together. You don't really see that very often in these shows. Usually they want to kill each other, or kind of like Crypt, they want to kill each other or they hate each other. But they're actually pretty happy together. Um, the wife goes out one day, and she actually gets to a really bad accident. And she basically is like put into a bed in really bad shape. Like the accident's had a really bad effect on her. And you get the sense that something really bad has happened to this woman that is a supernatural kind of thing, right? Um, and you eventually come to find out she's turning into some sort of ghoul type creature, which is very interesting. And the guy who is her husband, uh, as the title says, grieving process. He's very, he's grieving about it. He's lost his wife. She's not normal anymore, and he maybe starts feeding her, shall we say, feeding into what she needs now. At the fact that she's a ghoul, you can probably see where that's going. And the end of the episode kind of shows you like how this all happened, and he does something really messed up at the end. And oh my god, this episode probably has the best monster of the entire show. When they reveal her, he eventually puts her in the basement, and when they finally do the reveal on her, it's fantastic. I was blown away by how good the effects looked for her. This is another really strong S tier, and I'm probably going to put it just above the last Subaraya here. I really enjoyed Grieving Process. I thought it was fantastic. Probably the best, definitely the best episode, best segment of this season for sure. And it's very horrific. Like, this is what you would expect from a show like Creepshow. Very good stuff. And then we move on to The Parent Death Trap. And this is by far the funniest episode of this show. And some of the previous segments have tried to be funny and failed miserably. But this one's very enjoyable with its campy humor, and it's actually kind of also macabre. So there's this guy, and he lives with these two rich parents of his, and these parents are very like demanding, like they're very coddling, and they want him to marry basically this girl from the other rich family. They have like this kind of I would say a little bit of rivalry going on, but they're very strict and very babying to him, as we should say. And he doesn't want that anymore. And eventually he gets sick of it and just fucking murders them completely. Um, and then he like doesn't want to go out with this girl, and he eventually meets her again, and he finds out he actually does like her. And his parents actually like are haunting him now. Like they're actually constantly nagging him even from beyond the grave, which is fun. And the ending for this one is wild. Like I knew kind of what was going to happen. I will say I could see the ending coming, but it doesn't change the fact that it was well done and really enjoyable. I really enjoyed Parent Death Trap. I laughed more than once. I thought it was really clever. It's going to go in A tier. Put it somewhere like I'm gonna put it somewhere like here. I really did enjoy that. Yeah, like I said, it's one of the it's definitely a funnier episode, but it does it in a way that's not stupid and is really enjoyable. All right, then we move on to the title is kind of cut off on this one a bit because it's a long one. This is To Grandmother's House We Go. And this one's another kind of weird one that tries to be funny and kind of fails a bit. As the title probably gives away, it kind of plays a little bit off of like their Little Red Riding Hood fable, where you have like this woman and she's with this guy. The guy, I think he passes away, and his daughter, she has to take care of his daughter now, and she's a really piece of shit gold digger. Like she just wants the money from the father dying, and the grandmother is about to pass away, so she's about to get even more money. But the grandmother wants to see the little girl, so she has to take her like on a road trip. And they run into like a werewolf, and a werewolf attacks them. Uh, the little girl goes missing, and this they kind of have like a turnaround for this lady. Like she kind of becomes slightly good, but not really. Tries to save the little girl, and it's a fine episode. It's a little weird. This is gonna go in Satisfactory Spooks, probably like here-ish. Yeah, it's fine. The ending is a blast. I will say that the ending, but you kind of see it coming. Like it's obvious what happens at the end when you watch the episode. What's going to happen. But overall, it was enjoyable. Um, Not exactly something that I would, always want to watch, but I'll give it another watch here and there. It was fine. Then we move on to Meet the Belascos. This is a weird one to describe too. So this is kind of like a family sitcom meets like vampires, and you basically these vampires people know they exist and they like live in cities with people, and this vampire family moves next to like this normal family, and the father is very racist against vampires, I guess you would say, and he doesn't want them living next to him, but his son falls in love with like the daughter of the family, and kind of it's kind of like a family drama meets like Creepshow, which is really strange. Um, this is another one that feels more Tales from the Dark Side or Are You Afraid of the Dark than anything else. And I thought it was all right. This is another one that's going to go in Satisfactory, probably like right here. The ending is kind of out there and weird, and it's kind of it's a little sad actually, but I mean, it was just okay. Like it didn't offer any. It wasn't crap. Like I will say, like it wasn't offensive to be crap, but it was a bit strange. Um, it was your kind of like your average vampire episode, and it was very like cheesy and yeah, it's all right. I don't have much to say about it. Sorry. And then we move on to Cheat Code. And this is by far I think this is actually the weirdest out of place episode in the entire show. Like this feels like this should be Are You Afraid of the Dark, and they got the wrong show. Um, Basically, this one stars Lachlan Monroe, by the way, as like the boy's father, and his son's like addicted to video games, and he has this video game called like Weird Wednesday, I think it is, and it's a game he used to play when he was younger, but no one's ever beaten it. It's like an unbeatable game or something, and the son gets really addicted to it and shows his friends it, and then his friends like start getting inserted in the game, and you find out like every time there's a death in the game, they use this cheat code, they use this cheat code, and whenever there's a death in the game, it actually happens to the person in real life, which is a neat idea, but it it's like a heartwarming episode at the end. Uh, but the father and the son, and I just don't think it belonged in the show. I just didn't do it for me. This is gonna go in like, unfortunately, it's gonna go in this tier, probably like right here to be honest. I didn't vibe with this one. I thought it was really out of place. Maybe other people will like it and not think that it fits fine in the show. I just felt it was off-putting, and by far of any other episode in this show, this is the one that doesn't fit. It just, yeah, I don't know. That's all I could say about it. All right, we're down to the last four segments here. So this is something burrowed, not borrowed, something blue. As you can tell by the title, this involves like a newlywed couple. Well, a couple that's going to get married. And the woman, her father is like estranged and he doesn't talk to her anymore. And she doesn't want anything to do with him. But he really wants her to come back and like make amends with her basically. And her husband and her go to his house, and the guy's played by Tom Atkins, by the way, which is really cool. Like Tom Atkins is back, you know, he was in the original Creepshow, so this is like a throwback, and it's really great to see Tom Atkins. Unfortunately, they brought Tom Atkins back for a really dumb episode. Um, Basically, I'm gonna try to explain this best I can because a lot of these, as you know, a lot of these season 3 and 4 episodes have really dumb plots that are hard to explain. So essentially, he has this creature that lives in his basement that he feeds like once a year to keep it from like destroying the world. And he tells his future son-in-law about it because he's like, I'm dying. I need somebody else to feed this creature so that everyone else can keep living. Really weird stuff. And then to make it even weirder, you find out later that the son-in-law actually has his own creature of the same type. And he, before that even happens, he like feeds his cousin to the creature because the guy tells him he has to feed somebody to the creature to keep it satisfied. And then they have a really dumb ending with this that just kills the entire. I mean, the episode was already weird, but the ending just destroys everything about it. This is. I kind of want to put it in Crap Show because you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna put it in Crap Show. Unfortunately, Tom Atkins couldn't save this. Um, it was really stupid. It made no sense, and it was kind of infuriating. How annoying something that had potential was, you know, like you had Tom Atkins, you had an interesting setup with this monster, and then it just went off the rails in a really stupid way. Yeah, just not something not something I enjoyed. However, the segment after that, which is Doodles, which is a kind of a silly title, but actually really disturbing, good episode. So this one involves like this woman who is she's like an artist and she's trying to make it big in like this Miss Magazine. So she goes to show off her work because there's an opening for a job in the magazine where her work's going to get published. And the boss basically of this place is a real obnoxious asshole, but his assistant takes a liking to her, and you know she takes a liking to him. And so the assistant really wants her to get the job, but the boss is a complete prick, and he chooses this other lady that's sitting next to her instead. You know, and she's fed up. She's done this a long time where she's been denied and told she wasn't good enough. And she starts doing a little doodle of this lady basically getting killed in a car crash. And you come to find out later this lady actually did die in a car crash. So, you know, it's a lot like Ease will kill you, kind of with like a dark twist to it where whatever she draws happens. And really, really cool concept, really cool story. And the way it ends is very gruesome. Like, you don't. This is a very gruesome episode overall. The ending is very bloody and gruesome. And I really enjoyed this one overall. I'm going to put this into Jolting Tales of Terror. And I'm going to put it, you know what, towards the bottom, I think is fair. It wasn't like amazing, but I did enjoy it a lot enough for it enough to be like an A minus kind of episode. And then we move to George Romero in 3D. So earlier I had mentioned how this show has a hard on for George Romero. Um, and this is the final episode of the entire show. And you really see it here. This one's wild. Basically, this kid and his mom have this bookstore, and the bookstore is not doing well. And you get the landlord who is a dickhead who wants to like kick them out, basically. He looks a lot like the bald jerk from Night of the Living Dead. He looks exactly like him, actually. Uh, so he's gonna kick them out, and the store is basically failing. But the kid ends up finding like these lost um, comic books that George Romero wrote that were based off Night of the Living Dead, and pretty much like the comic books actually have zombies come to life in the store, and then George Romero himself comes out as like a sketch. It's really wild, and like he basically gives them like he basically helps them fight this like new zombie outbreak in the store. It's a fun time, a little goofy, but you know that's okay. This is gonna go in scary good times. I liked it. It was enjoyable. Um, Really fun ode to George Romero. You know, I think the show knew that it was coming to an end, so they just wanted to do something fun like this, or you know, honor George Romero and have fun with it. And they did. It's fun. It's a good time. And then we move on to the last segment of the entire show, and you know what? This is a good one. They ended pretty well. I will say that. This is Baby Teeth. So Baby Teeth has this mother who's very coddling, like even more so than the parents in Parent Death Trap. Uh, and she has this teenage daughter, and this teenage daughter is going through her rebellious phase, and she doesn't want mom to be like coddling over her anymore, and so she, you know, doing everything she can to be a rebellious teenager. And her mom does this weird thing where she keeps all her baby teeth and she puts them in like a kind of like a box in the closet. And there's this really weird thing that happens where the baby teeth kind of assemble into like a little monster, and the monster resembles like a baby. And I cannot believe that this episode had the balls to like be very violent towards a child. Like, let's just say you don't expect this child to be killed in the way she is in this episode, and it's very, very. It's a it's a good time. I liked it a lot. We're gonna put this up into Jolting Tales of Terror right there. All right, so that is my final ranking of the Creepshow television series. As always, let me know what you thought if you watched all these. Let me know if you disagree. And give this show a shot. You know, if you haven't really given this show a shot before, give it a shot for sure. Again, I have this beautiful Blu-ray box set. You don't have to buy the Blu-ray. It's streaming on Shudder. I just saw it for a good price and picked it up. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.